Hey, welcome back. We're on tip 3, which is telling your story, and that's a great way to get to know people in your group and to connect a little better because people want to do that, and telling our story is a way that helps us experience that.
Cool. Tell us your story, man.
Mine's long.
Hey, we got time. We're here for you.
Well, I started out as a child.
That's enough. That's
okay,
enough. We're
great.
done. Yeah. No oversharing. Oversharing tonight.
Telling your story means telling about those past experiences or relationships, events that have shaped you and continue to shape you today. And it's not just talking about the facts or the data of the story. It's about your thoughts, your feelings, your reactions to it as well. And remember, everyone in the group needs to have an opportunity to tell their story, but it doesn't mean everyone will share equally every week.
One of the things we're drawn to about the Bible is it's a book of stories. You know, people's lives kind of engage us, and we want to get to know them better and model after them and learn from them. You know, Paul talks about his story in Philippians 3, you know, his whole struggle to faith and his growth experience. And then he talks about in 2 Corinthians 6 about how his heart is opened up to the Corinthians and he wants to know them better.
Yeah, he actually challenged them for not opening their hearts.
Well, I want you to open up more.
Open up,
I don't get to know you. We've shared our story. You haven't told yours.
Yeah. And in the book of Hebrews, it says that all of those stories of faith are given to us actually to instruct us so we can learn from them.
We learn from stories.
Yep. So, why is this important? Well, we're going to give you a list here that's also in your participants guide, and it basically says these things that we need to share with one another so we'll continue to grow. Now, here's the warning. If you don't share, and we've seen a lot of people do this, they'll get to the end of their group experience and go, gosh, I wish I had jumped in earlier. Because if you don't share, here's what the outcomes will be like. People won't get to know each other, which is what makes a group. People will remain cautious. They'll lose interest in the group.
I noticed that. People do. They kind of hold back, and when people hold back, the interest goes down. Why do we want to come and just talk about the weather?
Right.
You know, you can only hear... You only stay connected to a group so long if you're just getting the surface issues. It's like, well, what else is going on here? You know, there's nothing.
Right. You know. And the ability to grow in your relationship skills in that laboratory will be lost.
Yeah, Henry mentioned it earlier. One of the things we need to do is tell your story earlier and also kind of make sure others get a chance to do that in the community, because we hear that, what he mentioned, we hear that people wish they had done that earlier when they left the group.
I don't know anybody that's ever said, gosh, I'm glad I waited.
Yeah.
It never happens.
You
It's
know,
always
sometimes
the
a group
other way.
runs its course.
I wish I'd jumped in.
And people say, gosh, I didn't get to know people, they didn't get to know me. And the critical thing here is discipleship takes place, real transformation takes place when our story interacts with God's story. And then, as one person described me, our story becomes more like God's story.
Say that again.
Yeah, discipleship is when our story meets God's story, and our story becomes more like His. We begin to grow.
So if we're in a group that's talking about God's story, and our story is not out there, we can't make the connections.
No, it just becomes content and facts over here. It's not connecting with our lives. It's a place where truth meets life.
And you don't look forward to it then. The stories make you look forward to it. Okay, let's
Some
talk a little bit
people
about
do.
the how-to, the practical. There's really 2 elements to this. We want to break that down. And the first one is the balance or proportion, how much is shared per person. And the other is the quality. But for the balance part, let's go back to our group and see what they do with it, and we'll talk about that.
The thing I love about people is that they're all different, and they tell their stories in different ways. It's actually kind of like the 3 Bears.
Working for this social services agency is not what I thought it was going to be. I mean, I've always wanted to be a social worker ever since I was a little girl.
You've got Papa Bear kinds of stories.
And then we're living out of our pink Corvette. And then Skipper joined them.
Veronica, she tells Papa Bear stories all the time. And then there are people who tell wee little bits of their story.
Gregory.
Well, I'm a journeyman carpenter. I grew up in the Midwest, and I'm married to her.
The Baby Bear stories. And then there are people somewhere in between.
Major a few times, so it took me about 5 years to finish college. And after I finished college, I met Kevin. And we were married 2 years later.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah, I remember that was a very special time in my life. Not without its difficulties.
Well, yeah.
His family, for example.
Well, hey now, your parents weren't sure of me either.
My dad loves you.
Yes, he does.
And that's just right.
Yeah, but what if the Papa Bear storytellers kind of take over the group and nobody else has much of a chance to speak? I'm just wondering.
Yes, you mean, how do you slow Veronica down?
Well, I'll talk to her. Not in front of everybody, just make her aware, you know?
Good luck with that. Seriously,
Got it. Okay.
good luck.
Hey,
Thank
sorry.
you.
Can I give you something to think about?
Uh-oh. Am I in trouble here?
No, it's just, you know, I've been thinking. You know, you are one of the best storytellers I know.
Thank you.
Really. And we really appreciate everything you have to say, whether it's a story or not. Just,
But
but one of the things we want to be careful about, that, you know, I think we all need to be aware of, is the balance of time that we each take to share our stories. Does that make sense?
I'm talking too much. I'm doing that again. I know. I do that. I can't even just stop
No,
myself.
wait.
I started.
No,
I
let me
don't
just
even
say again, we'd love to hear from you. Really. I mean, you bring this incredible energy to the group. It's great. Don't stop that. We just want to make sure that we're all working together
Yes.
to give everybody the same chance to share what they need to share. So, what are you thinking?
And I'd like to go somewhere and hide.
It's
It's okay. It's fine. I'm fine. I don't mean to monopolize things. If you just catch me doing that, and I don't know I'm doing it, maybe you could do something. Like, I don't know, raise an eyebrow or something. Okay? Something. Maybe you could warn me?
Yeah, I can do that. Just raise an eyebrow, just like that. Just do like a Mr. Spock, something like that.
Yeah, that'll work.
Okay, seriously though, thanks for not punching me in the face when I shared all that.
You're not getting off that easy. Scooch!
Oh, sorry.
Wow.
That everybody's been there.
That was a good risk. I mean, he took the risk and says, "Got to
Sits
do
up on
it."
the counter
Yeah.
and.
But he did it in
Yeah.
a very gracious way.
Yes.
He did.
And he did it in a way that's consistent with some teaching we do about that in one of the extended
It's
tips.
extended to one about confrontation. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
Because
how
he
she
started out
received it.
positive.
Yeah.
Remember that? He affirmed her. Then he
But
ate
she
the
could tell
potato
something
chip.
was coming. He said, we need to talk on a bench. She goes, okay, what is it? She knew, but he
And
was
Veronica
gracious.
was really cool how she took it too.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't
Yeah.
easy for her. Plus, you see the parts about the balance of not having enough. Like,
Yeah.
you know, Gregory's sitting there with the pillow and, you know, didn't tell us very much. And he's, you know,
Right.
there's very little content there. And then the good middle there where, the couple was talking and she brings up her life. So you've got
People
Mama
are at
Bear,
different
Papa Bear,
places.
yeah.
They share different levels. Sure.
So anyway, what balance is how much you're talking. Be aware of how much you talk, and you want to make sure everybody's talking, you know, not exactly the same amounts, but it's important that there's a proportion.
But they have
there.
opportunity to
Right.
engage. Yeah.
There's sometimes it's going to be when somebody's really in crisis that they're going to take more time. That's just the way relationship is.
Now, we really want to emphasize something about this balance thing because it's so important. It doesn't happen on its own. This is something that someone has got to be observing.
Sure. Yeah.
Now, there's a lot of different options on how to monitor the balance and make sure nobody is
People
talking
aren't
too much.
aware often. They just aren't aware that
Right,
they're
they're
so
just
out of whack.
yakking.
They think they shared a minute.
That's what Veronica said.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So one of the methods is that you might have a leader or a facilitator in your group, and they're kind of the traffic cop. We call it the traffic cop method, where you stand in the intersection and you're directing traffic, and they're sort of observing, you know, so-and-so's been talking a long time, and they kind of say, you know, we need to make sure Susie gets a chance to share. Thank you, Tom, for sharing, and they sort of keep it moving.
That's a good visual, that traffic cop.
Give a little whistle.
Give a little whistle, stop sign.
Uniform.
Come on through. Yeah. The second one, though, is a little more structured approach. Now, remember earlier we talked about you might want to have a timekeeper for your group, and the timekeeper is the one that makes sure we're going to spend this much time on our curriculum. They want to have share time and prayer time. Well, the other thing the timekeeper can do when it comes to story time is say, you know, we want to hear from everybody. We've got 5 minutes for each person, and they kind of make sure that happens. Yeah. Method number 3, it's probably the one that we hope groups get to, and that goes back to your ground rules and your purpose. Remember when we talked about, do you want to covenant with each other that you're the kind of group that gives feedback?
Yeah.
or that you tell each other what you think about, the way each other, is related.
You're free to do that because structure provides freedom. When you know you've agreed to certain processes,
you've already asked for
then
it.
you can go in and say,
it's
hey,
safe.
Exactly.
Right.
You can work this out.
And the way that works is then someone would notice it in the group, bring it up instead of in the kitchen with the potato chip.
Yeah.
You bring it up in the group. You say, I'm noticing something, and I want to make sure everybody gets to share. And Veronica, I mean, you're just verbal, and you talk more, and we don't hear. And so then the group begins to process it. Now remember, if you're going to do that in the group, that means that everybody is paying attention to what's going on in the group and noticing things and saying them. Remember we talked
Raises
about
an awareness level. It's an awareness level.
Yeah. So all of that goes to say this doesn't happen on its own, and you've got to pay attention to it, and somebody's going to do it. Now the second part is the quality, not the quantity, but the quality of sharing. Let's look at the group for a moment as they show us some things about that.
Well, here's the thing. We want to hear each other's stories. And the truth is, we want people to share as deeply as they can. Sometimes that's hard.
This is really awkward because I hate talking about myself, but I have something I feel I should share. This is hard. 40-something. 42. 43, okay. And I don't have any children. And I really want to have one. Am I crazy?
No. Oh, no. I don't think so at all.
It might be hard, but when people take that next step, it's just right. Yeah.
He's looking at me right now, isn't he?
That was some risk-taking there.
Yeah, that was a grabber. That grabbed me inside.
She just put her heart out there, and you could tell it wasn't comfortable. I mean, she admitted it. This isn't me. I don't like to talk about myself, but here I go. And that's a way of saying, I'm trusting the group is a safe place, and I'm waiting to see if the response says, yes, it is.
She was really telling her story.
Yeah.
And if you notice about moments like that, those are the moments when time goes away.
Yeah.
It just stands still because I think that you've kind of entered into eternity. When somebody's soul at that level, you're just sort of like not going, when's
every
this
heart
stupid
in that
group
room
over?
gets touched by that. People connect with that because whether they say that or not, they feel that.
Right. So in the quality of sharing, there's two parts to it. One is what you share. If you're just talking about the weather or your sports team, it's just another water cooler conversation like at work.
Exactly.
So you want to share about the significant things you're going through or the significant events and relationships. And the second thing is not only the what you share, but the how. If we're just reporting facts, like remember when Gregory said, I was born here and I'm a carpenter.
This is data.
It's just data.
It's helpful. It's okay, but you don't want to stop there.
Right. How you do it is more when you get into the real experiences. You see the vulnerability in the last clip of the experiences, the feelings, the fears, that qualitative stuff that gets us to a deeper level.
So why don't you practice this during your time together? Take a bit of a risk. Go beyond maybe level 1 of your comfort zone. You have kind of a phrase for this, kind of outside the comfort zone.
Yeah. We want you to go 1 degree past your comfort zone. And you might even use that as a phrase in your group. Say, okay, guys, I'm about to go 1 degree.
Here I go.
Be nice to me here.
Right. Do that. Take a little bit of a risk. Tell a little bit more of your story as you go through your meeting. Give everyone a chance to do that. And then at the end of your meeting, set some time aside to say, hey, how did that go? Did people feel there was a balance in that as we did it? Did people feel safe? And then you can debrief it a little bit together and take your group to the next level as you share each other's story.
Hey, you know what? As they're doing that, maybe you could tell us more now about your
Well, like I said, I started out as a child.
Or you could tell us less. That's another thing you could do.
I really want to hear from John if you could. Yeah.
Okay.